morning. Good morning from Melbourne, Australia. Good evening to friends in North America. And hello to anyone watching on replay. My name is Nancy Hetker, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Melbourne, Australia. And I apologize for starting a couple minutes late this morning. Yeah, it's just one of those mornings, I guess. My computer has been being a little bit persnickety with some things recently, and I had to take a minute and sort it out. Yep, but here I am, and I'm ready to make a card today. I hope you guys are doing well. Please say hello when you join me, whether you're watching live or on replay. I do see people who leave me comments, and I'm happy to respond to them. Yeah, let's get started. So today I'm going to make a card that Laura Secchi posted, or a version of a card that Laura Secchi posted, that is a fun fold card. It's an accordion stretch card, she calls it. And I'm going to start with a Misty Moonlight card base, and I'm actually going to bring in my cut and emboss machine, my well-loved cut and emboss machine, because I'm going to emboss the front of the card. Oh my goodness. Like I said, one of those mornings. So I need that platform. I put everything out in a logical way so I could find it. Hi Mom, thanks for joining me. So there's my card front, and there's my embossing folder, and I want to emboss the front only, and I want to get it right. I'm trying to get the whole of the front right up to that fold. There we go. Don't want that. I do want this with the 3D embossing folder. There we go. Just run that through. And there we go. Because I lined it up with my score mark. There's no scoring on the, or no embossing on the back, but pretty embossing on the front. Okay, let's move this out of the way. Hi Paula, thanks for joining me today. I'm just getting started. So I have embossed the card front with the joined together 3D embossing folder, and so I'm using also a piece of designer series paper from that Kintsugi Inspiration Suite, which is also where the embossing folder comes from. And the next step, I think, is to score this designer series paper, and I am working straight off Laura's measurements. So I've done, this card base is actually 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, actually, 11 inches. I will go back and convert it to a version 4 using A4 paper, but I didn't do that because I wanted to get this made for you guys today. And I have been up to my eyeballs prepping. I'm doing a Christmas card buffet on Saturday, and I have been prepping for that. So I did not have lots and lots of time to prep for this session today. So we're going with something that I have all the measurements for. Okay, so when I'm scoring this, I have made sure, because it's going to, this is the orientation it's going to be in the card when you open it up. So I have made sure that I'm not scoring it. This would be I think, upside down with the pattern. So I just wanted to point that out. If you have a directional pattern, you might want to check that. So it says score at 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches. We keep going. 7 inches. 8 inches. And I'm not pushing super hard because I don't want to rip the paper, which is easier to do on designer series paper than cardstock. Okay, so I think that goes away for at least the time being. Okay, and now we're going to do our accordion, or as they say more often here in Australia, concertina fold. And I'm going to bring in my fold folder. And I'm going to try to make sure that I get this aligned straight, because it could be pretty easy to get it going crooked. So even with the score marks. Yeah, I like this paper. It is pretty. Okay, so there's the accordion fold. So next step is going to be to adhere it. This is really a pretty darn simple card. When you have it figured out. Okay, so we're going to put glue. Hopefully I got enough in here. There we go. So this card buffet I'm doing on Saturday, the base class is to make 5 cards, your choice of 5 of the prepped cards, and then you can keep going for however many you want to make. I've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 designs at the moment. I may come up with one more. Okay, and then the next part, you put adhesive on this side. And we're just going to close this up, and this is how you know to get the alignment right. Yeah, so then there's just a per card charge for any additional cards that you want to make. But so it's totally up to the participant what they want to make. How's that? And there we go. Here's the other piece. This adheres right in there. Oh, That's interesting. I'm going to cut that a little shorter. Yeah, this is the first time I've done a buffet here, and I'm going to see how it goes. And what I did with all these designs, I've got, what, 7 people coming, I think, so far, and I've made, there's a couple of the cards that are from a kit, and so they don't I've had limited numbers of those, but most of the rest of them I've made 10 sets. So there should be plenty for people to pick from. And I figured whatever they don't make up, I'll just make up and have in my stash. I'm going to the market again. And then, you know, Christmas cards don't expire. They'll be good next year if I wind up having a bunch left. So that's fine. Okay, got a little bit of adhesive there. We'll get that off. Maybe. There we go. So that's the basic card. And it just, like so, and it stands up. And how fun is that to open up? Okay, now we're going to work on the decoration part. And for that, I thought about using stuff out of the Kintsugi Inspirations suite, but I decided instead to use Beautiful Butterflies because I wanted to. So I've got the Time to Celebrate sentiment and Misty Moonlight to coordinate with what we got going already. And I'm just gonna, this label is from the Peaceful Garden suite, so I like to mix and match and just pick out what feels right to me. So that's going to go on the front here. But I'm also going to make some butterflies. And I'm going to make them outlined in gold. And I do that by inking in Versamark. So we're going to do, and I've got a bit of a vision of what I want, but nothing really set in stone. So I'm going to do several of each of these small butterflies. And I know you can't see where I've stamped, but I can. I think I can get one more in right there. Okay. Now we'll get that out of the way. And I'm going to bring in this is the gold embossing powder. And I did not use my embossing buddy, so we'll see how this goes. It looks like it's going to work quite well. Some more on there. Good. Okay. And now we bring in, hi Christine. Yeah, so I'm using Laura Secchi's design, and I'm currently, the one I'm making is her version, which is in inches. And I will come back and at some point convert it to centimeters so it uses A4 cardstock more better. And we just heat this up till it melts. You can see it change and turn shiny and glossy. Just want to do it until it does that change, because if you go too far you can overheat it and it melts into the paper, which is not fun. Okay, so heat tool away here, get this out of the way, And I use that box because I don't like embossing powder all over my work surface. And that just contains it all. Okay, so now I'm going to color this in with my blends. And I do love coloring with blends, but the thing you need to be careful of is that they will mark right over the embossing, and they will color the embossing, because they're like Sharpies. They're permanent markers. They color on everything, which is fine. The other way to do this that I thought about, of course, right when I picked up these blends to start doing this, is you could swirl, use your blending brushes and blend color on there. Use your embossing buddy to make sure it's really dry, and then stamp your butterflies and emboss with gold and cut them out, and that would be really pretty, especially if you got some nice color variation in them. But I'll make you watch me color instead, at least for the moment. I'm kind of trying to figure out if I'm just going to keep them all this light. That's the light, Misty Moonlight. We'll bring in some of the dark, see how we like that. Just get a little variation. Yeah. Yeah. So, American friends, do you have Thanksgiving plans? We are going to the annual Friendsgiving that is hosted by one of Glenn's colleagues, another American here. And it's usually mostly Americans who are there. But sometimes there's miscellaneous others as well. And I can't remember if I talked about this last week or not, but I was asked if I could bring cranberry sauce. I think I did talk about this last week, and I talked about trying to find cranberries. I found them, and I now have sufficient cranberries for the next couple of years probably in my freezer, which is fine. Because then I was also asked if I could bring a dessert. They were short on desserts, and I was happy to do that too. And that's also going to be cranberry based, cranberry and apple. Since I have so many cranberries, I'm happy to do that too. So that's good. And yeah, the grit is annoying. So yeah, I've been doing the box to contain everything for years, and you might recognize the box, Christine. It's just a Stampin' Up box. The square box that they send with the designer series paper. So that is easy. There's plenty of those in my life. And I put the piece of grid paper, it's usually a used piece of grid paper, down in there because sometimes I or somebody else will spill powder, and then it's easy to pick it up and funnel it back into the container. Let's do some dark on that one. So, and I did wind up ordering a turkey, or getting a turkey from Woolworths. It's such a, turkey tends to be so cheap in the States at this time of the year that it's always a shock every year how freaking expensive it is here. It's really only around for Christmas time. And so I went with the supermarket one. Because it will be fine. There we go. Let's start with those two. I'm not sure I'm going to need the other two. So, let's bring the cut and emboss back in. Hi, Carrie. And I will get my coordinating dies here. So, those of you who are Stampin' Up! Demonstrators, did you register for Onstage? My team, I've got, what, 4 team members? 4 or 5 team members who are going. And they all got in, so that was good. There's been a worry that the venue in Sydney is going to be small and they're maybe not, that it might sell out, but so far I haven't heard that it has. And like I said, all of my people got in, so I'm very happy. And for those who don't know, Onstage is a demonstrator-only convention. It's a, what, 2.5-day event in March, and it's super, super fun. And exciting, and yeah, we're all excited to be going. Go. Okay. We'll set those aside for now. I may not wind up using them. So I was also wondering about, I think this is going to be, yeah, just too wide. So, let me take a quick look here. So, Time to Celebrate is going to be on the front. This, come here. taking that and that. Sorry, looking for one more sentiment. Yes, well, yes, there is an onstage in Australia each time. They used to do kind of they did a rotating thing where the main event was in one of the 3 markets, and yeah, I think I'm just going to leave that blank. Yeah, so in one of the 3 markets, so North America, Europe, and South Pacific, and then they would do a smaller, shorter event in the other 2 markets with some recorded sessions from the main, let's just call it main stage. But people very quickly told them that the shorter programs, the local onstage locals were not good. They were not good. They weren't good value for money. They weren't as good an event. Blah blah blah. So they revamped everything, and they made it so that each location has a good event, multi-day event. And some of the presentations are recorded and are shown at each of the things, but you don't feel like you're getting second best because it's the same. And there's lots of local presenters with live stuff happening. So it's a good event in each market. So that was a good change that they made. Okay, so there's that. And we're going to add these guys on here. And I'm also thinking about pulling in some foliage. So hang tight for a second. Bring in some gold foil. Let's see what I have that might, okay. Some adhesive sheet because okay, and I'm going to cut that out and I'll be right back. Yeah, so it's always fun to figure out, to learn who's coming from the States to host and staff on stage here. And because we've got our fan favorites. So we're gonna do that and that. And what do we think? Yeah? So that foliage is also from the Peaceful Garden, which is where the label comes from. Yeah. Okay. So, couple dimensionals where it's on the card base, little tiny bit of glue where it's up on the label. And now we will pull the backing off on this adhesive sheet. Why it matters, but there we go. Here. And where's this other butterfly? And as always, see you, Christine. Thanks for joining me. This is where I get stumped. Yeah. What do you think, guys? I like those better. There we go. And I always think they look naked without a center dot. There. Happy with that. Okay, so there's the front. And you open it up, and you've got that. What do you think? It's nice as it is, yes. So maybe, maybe not with the flowers, but there they are. Thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions, well, first of all, this card will be on my blog, the next post, nancysniftynotes.com. It's always, if you're watching this on YouTube down the line, you can always search for it. It's the same, the blog post is the same title as the video that you're watching, so you can search for it on my blog. If you have any questions or comments that you want to send straight to me, it's nancy@nancysniftynotes.com. You can send stuff through Facebook Messenger, but I don't seem to get good alerts that I have a message from my business page. I need to look and see if I can change that. So email is the most reliable, or through my personal Facebook page on Messenger. So either way, thank you for joining me today, and I will be back same time, same place next week with another project. See you then. Bye-bye.